User queries actually are one of the first customizations that we do for you, for all of you. Some of them are very simple reports. Some of them have a lot of parameters and displays results for your analysis. You could have a lot of queries or not. And sometimes we have different categories in those queries. But let's go and just check what can we do to add those queries to our main menu. So basically, this is where we find the queries, right under the query manager. The way for you to remember, if it is sometimes, if you're a new user, is sometimes difficult just to know where actually can I find those queries. So this is how I always remember. I use this little pencil. This is the layout designer, this little pencil as my reference. So I always say, okay, right to the pencil, maybe 2 positions to the right, 1 to the left for the journal entry preview, but that's how I remember. So let's say that I would like to add one of these queries to my menu. So basically I select my query, and then I have this button in the query manager, assign to menu. So when I open this screen, I only need to menu item, right? This is my query menu registration. Then I will say, okay, what is the parent menu ID? Because I need to select where would I like to have my query. So let's say that that's going to be under the sales. So I could just go and say, okay, you know what? I want it under the sales reports, but that's going to be like almost at the bottom. So let's say, no, let's go and do it under the sales AR. Now, what is the position? It could be, you could just put it in use this checkbox to be the last one, but I don't want to do that. I want it to be just the first one under my sales menu. And this will be the ID. Only update, and that's it. Let's go and close it. And let's go now to our main menu. Now I am on the drag and relay. Now let's go to the modules. So if I go to my sales, and I said that now I have sales by customer, because this would be the position 0. This will be sales by customer. That will be my first position, my 0, 1, 2, 3. So now I have in there my query. And then I can just run my query. I will select, let's say, let me just select this one. And okay, so there you have your query. You know that you can use the controls, the same ones that we use for Excel. It is the filter, it is the sort. With the right click, you also find the options to filter the sort table as well. You could just maximize or restore the grid. That means if you have, instead of doing all of this, scroll up and down all the time, you can use this one and increase the grid or reduce the grid. You can double click in the item, let's say, and just have it sorted out by item code. And there's another thing that you can do. Get the total. I know that we can just do export to Excel, or with the right click, just copy table, open in an Excel, and that's it, right? So I could just do that. But if I want to get the total in here, because I just want to check the number, and that's it. I don't want to just export it to Excel and play with the numbers, subtotals, nothing. I just want to know what is the total. So the way just to do it is just have the cursor on the top of the column, right, on the header, and press the control key and your mouse, and that's it. So there you will have the total in the bottom. Okay, so very simple. It is nothing very complex, but that's how you can just work with these queries and add it to the main menu. Okay, so let me just remove my menu again. If at some point you would like just to remove it, you can just look, if you know the name of your query, you could just say, okay, sales. So you will have any query with that that contains the sales. But actually it is not from the system. That's going to be this one, let's say. So I could just go in here and just remove it. Okay. And then I will refresh my menu just to remove it from there. But that's how you will do it. So basically that's how you can add menus to the main query, to the main menu, I'm sorry. Okay, so basically that is available for the HANA and for SQL versions, and that is for version 10. This is the version 10, and the patch level 2011. Okay, so how do you know what is the version that are actually in at this time? So you go to help, and here under about SAP Business One, it is in here that you find your version. So right now you'll see it says version. Now let me just increase a little bit because, okay, that it is. So version 10 for HANA, and the patch level is 2108. Okay, so there you have it. So that is how you can just find what is the version for your system. How to name the documents, right? It is your business, it is your document title. So some say, some people could say that is terminology. It could be industry jargon. I mean, in your company, you're used to say, let's say the sales order, it could be order confirmation. AR invoice, it could be customer invoice, it could be sales invoice. So how do we change that one? This is what we can do. We go to the main menu and we go to the document numbering series. Where do I find those? Let me just show you here under administration, system initialization, document numbering. There I have it. But sometimes it is a lot of clicks and we don't remember exactly what it is. So I can just use the lookup menus and just enter the numbering. So there I have it, document numbering. Let me just remove the menu. So there it is. So in this screen, now we have this column, change menu names. So let's say that it's going to be for the AR invoices. I would like just to call it sales invoice, right? So I can just update and okay, right? So let me just go there. This is for those of you that are not using the actual cockpit. So you're using just the main menu. So if I go to the sales menu, now I have in here, instead of AR invoice, I have sales invoice. And if I open it, now my document is called sales invoice, right? So it is very, very helpful. Sometimes, let's say the AR credit memo, you're not used to that. Maybe it could be just credit memo. So that would be sales quotation. You could just call it quote. So basically that's how you can do it. It is just to change the name of the document. So let's go and open the customer. It could be a vendor, but let's go for customers. Now that I have the sales workbench. So let's go and select any of these customers. Let's go for microchips. So let's say that in this customer, we have one bill to address and we have multiple ship to addresses. And sometimes, actually most of the time, we have like specific people, specific contact persons linked to these addresses, right? What we have done up until now, it is to use any of these address name 2 or 3 to add attention, John Smith, anything. So the option that we have now, it is just to have this contact person linked to a specific address. We have this field here on the bottom, it's connected address. I could say, okay, if that address is going to be the bill to or the ship to West Coast, let's say, and then update. When I do that, now we have here under this address, before it was for the actually contact address, but I can tell you most of the time we don't use the contact address. What we use is the company's addresses, but for the contacts we use the how to contact the customer, the actual person, right? The phone numbers and email, maybe and the position, but we almost never use the actual contact address. And as you can see, the address here is now grayed out because actually this is the address that I linked this contact to. Now, let me just go to the second contact and I could say, okay, this one doesn't have any address, but I could say, okay, connected address. Let's say that this is for the bill too, and I update. So now I have the address in here. So if this address is updated in the tab for the addresses, that will be updated in here because actually it is displaying the information from the address. You know what? It is really not very practical just to have the connected address in the bottom. So this is a way you can do. You can just go use the form settings, and you can do it for all of those forms, and just take the contact connected address, the field, and put it just below the address. And maybe we could just remove some of these fields. I use the same commands that I use for Excel. So let's say with the shift, I remove all of this. I get that I don't need all of those fields. So now I don't need to scroll up and down, right, for this field. So basically better visibility, right? So basically that's what we have for the contact link to a specific address. Every single payment term that we have has a price list linked to it. And sometimes we've done some mistakes, because anytime that you can, that you would like to update a payment term for a sales order, let's say at the end you are changing the price list for that sales order. Let me just go here. Let's go and select a sales order. This one more recent. Double click. Okay, let's go for this one. So in this one, just let's go and take a look at this one. So this is my payment term, but the price list for this customer is actually distributor sales price, right? How do we know? If we go to the actual item and I go, this is an ABC order, right? So if I go to my regular distributor, okay, sales price. So for this item, there you have it, is this 500. And that is the price that I have in there. So if I go to my accounting tab and I say, no, I want to change the payment terms to, do you see the document total, right? 32 plus, 32,000 plus. Do you want to update the existing table rows with the new price list? After you've been using the system just a few weeks, you start saying yes to every single message. And that is very dangerous, right? You could just say yes, and then look at that. So now you have the base price, because that is the actual price linked to this payment term, the base price. And that could be a purchase price, right? Or it could be a reference price. So we don't want to do that. So now we have this option. Let me just have the customer here on the side. We have the option just to define a specific price list, and not those price lists linked to the actual payment terms. So let's go here to administration, system initialization, and here, and then the general settings. And the general settings we have for business partners, inventory, all of these tabs, right? Actually, you can hide some functions in here. I could just say, okay, I don't want to have in the financials, I don't want to have the budget. I don't need to have the production. So I could just do that, but that is not the purpose of this thing. So basically it's in here. Do you see now I have this checkbox? Set default price list in general settings instead of in payment terms. If I select this one, I could now select at least a default price list. And I could say, okay, I will select the highest price list for my customers. And I could say, okay, that's going to be that would be the regular sales price. And for my vendors, that will be my regular purchase price. And now I can update this one. If I have this option, let's go back to that same sales order. Let me just go back to the same sales order. And let's go and try to change the payment terms. So let's say that I want to just go to the net 45. I haven't changed anything. I don't get the message, and I just update. This is only for the credit limit. And that's it. If I go to the payment terms, actually, now we don't see the price list linked to the payment term. So let's say that you have this sales order. You get the purchase order from your customer, and this is the purchase order from your customer, and that purchase order, you already have it attached in here. But now when you go to the actual, let's say in the standard copy to delivery, right? You would like to have that same attachment up until the invoice, up until the latest document. Even if you have a credit memo, anything, you would like to have that. So this is what we can do now. Let me just close the sales order. So now what we have is we can go to the modules. Let me just close just so you can just take a look. Okay, administration, system initialization, document settings, because this is a document setting, right? So for this document setting, now we have this checkbox, copy attachments from base document to target document. So let me just go and update. I just entered, I just click. I don't need to see the actual button. And then let's go and close it. Let me just remove the menu. Let's go back to our sales order. That was the last one, right? So here I have my attachment. So if I want to copy to delivery, I go to the attachments. And now, well, let me just, let's go to another one, because in this one I already have an attachment. Let me just go and select another one. Browse, and let me just add this one. Copy to delivery. If I go to my attachments, now I have it in there. The reason that in the other one, I just couldn't do it is because I updated the setting after I already had the attachment. So that is not retroactive. So in that case, you will need just to do it, remove the attachment, and then just do it from the beginning, right? So that is the thing. If you don't want this attachment to go to the next one, you could just uncheck this checkbox, and that's it. But if not, you could just add the delivery, and this document, this attachment will go to the subsequent documents. Okay, so that is the other thing that we can do with the attachments. Anytime that I have a sales order, and let's say I would like just to, if I do the copy to for this sales order, in my remarks, I will have based on sales order 1215. But I would like to have some comments in here, some additional comments. And basically when we would like just to print those comments in the, let's say in the delivery or in the packing list and any of the documents. I don't want to have the based on sales order. I don't want those messages in these remarks. So now we have this option. Also under the modules, administration, system initialization, it is also document settings. So now we have this one, manual remarks. When we do the implementation, we define these settings based on the actual blueprint configuration, our workshops. So it's very rare that you come back to these document settings, right? But in here we have this document remarks include. So most of the time is base document number. It could be the reference number. But basically in the documents, anyway, we'll have the base reference number. So by default, we select base document number. And actually that is selected by default. But let's say, no, I don't want to have the base document number. I can access that through the icons for the base and target documents. I can access that through the relationship map. So let's go to the manual remarks only. And then let's go and enter. Let me just remove the menu and go back to the sales order. So if I go back to one of the sales order that I don't have, this one is 0. So in here, let's say, okay, just testing, right? Let me just update. And if I go to copy to delivery, now I don't have that message saying that based on sales order 1215. Anyway, you will have these base documents icons just to know which one is the base, right? Or whenever you add the document, you will have the relationship map. In here, I haven't added the document, so I don't have it. But anytime that you have, let me just go, let's go and cancel this one. And let's go for an actual delivery. And you know what, let me just go and select a delivery that is closed. a recent one. Okay, this is from July. Okay, so if I go to the right click, relationship map, I have all of the links in here, right? So, and basically you also have the base document going back to the origin, and it is this sales quotation. So maybe you'd rather have some manual messages in here instead of the based on sales quotation, this or that. Now let's go to the last part of our tips and tricks for our customer day, and that will be related to authorizations and approvals. Okay, so the first one, again, and some of the other tips, we've been asking for this for so long, and that is related to the actual authorization for master data, basically. So for customers, for item master, so if I go to my latest business partner, in this case, it is a vendor, right? Sometimes we would like just to grant access to certain tabs in here for certain users. Let's say we would like that someone in finance take care of the payment terms, right? Or of the payment run. So select what are the payment methods, the bank accounts. Someone in logistics could just look at the actual addresses for the ship to addresses. So whoever's in charge of creating the actual customer, it would be only for certain fields. So the user could just go create the business partner with the code, the name, assign the group. So basic information, right? The general data, phone numbers, email. Remember, this is the email for the company, not for a specific contact person. Just this general information. Maybe we wouldn't like no one just to once I maybe don't change the buyer. If we are talking about a customer, in that case, that would be don't change the sales rep, right? So maybe what we could do is just create the business partner, but that person wouldn't have access to the payment terms, to the payment run, to the accounting tab, and someone else could just get alerted that there is a new business partner, there is a new vendor, let's say in the finance team, so they can just come to the actual document, to the actual business partner master data, and define what is, I guess that accounts will be already pretty fine, but let's say that we would like just to assign the form for the 1099. Well, actually, in this case, miscellaneous non-employee compensation. No, nowadays it is just this one, non-employee compensation. It is a new form, right? But okay, that is not the purpose of this tip. It is just the authorizations for business partner master data, and same thing for items. So what can we do when you go to the administration, system initialization, authorizations? So under the general authorizations, I would just recommend the same thing. If you don't remember where is it, just go to authorizations, and then you can just find general authorizations. Let me just remove this one. So let me just go and select a user that it is not a super user. Look, if I select my user, let me just go here. You see in here, let me just increase a little bit the screen. Okay, in here, do you see that everything is grayed out? I have full authorization because I am a super user in this database, right? I'm a super user. But if I select any other, let's say Tom Brady, our famous quarterback. So in this case, let me just go and look for Tom. So it is not a super user, right? So it means that I can just restrict some accesses for this user. So this is what we can do. Let me just read here. The resolution is a little better. So now we have under the business partners, before we have all of this, but now we have business partner master data. So now we have a few options. The first part, it is a yes or no. sales order balance, it is full or no, right? Because basically we're saying if we want that user to actually look at the number, what is the balance for sales order, for the delivery, for the open check balance? Actually, that is the total balance for account receivables, let's say. The goods receipt, this would be for vendors, right? If we want to grant authorization to change the sales employee, and in this case, that would apply to the buyer, right? The sales employee table, actually, it is the same table for sales employees, sales reps, and buyers. But is this a yes or no? It is full authorization or no, okay? Now, the next part is the tabs. For the tabs, it is just, that would be the option that full, read-only, or no authorization at all, right? So it is in here that you can say, okay, this user could just add information to the general tab, maybe the contacts, maybe the addresses, but maybe in here, read-only, and here, read-only, and maybe in the accounting tab, no authorization at all. If I do that, and let me just, I update. So for that, in that case, the payment terms and the payment run will be grayed out, okay, for the user. The accounting tab, it will be hidden. This Tom wouldn't be able just to look at the accounting tab. It will be removed from his screen, okay? So that is one of the things, and I guess that we were just looking for this for so long. Because yes, the way that we are doing it right now, it is through what we call transaction notification. And that is that you're not allowed to do that because you are this user. And you get a red message. So that is how we accomplish that as of now. But it's going to be great just to have these definitions. It is for business partners and also for item master data. Okay, so just take a look at it. It will be just pretty easy just to check if it applies to you. This has been available for version 10. So if you're already in version 10, that is already available. Okay. One signing in the system that it is creating a lot of it is so annoying with the approval processes, the approval procedure. And the reason is that if I'm the authorizer for a specific approval procedure and I'm on vacation or I'm just have some absence for any reason, any document that it is under the approval procedure and I am the only authorizer, it is like stuck in there and no one can just cancel, no one can approve it, nothing can be done. So now we can define a substitute for that authorizer. So when I go to the modules, let me just go here. Just remove it. So when I go to the administration and the approval process, now we have this substitute authorizer for approval of templates, right? So I already did it for one. Actually, we have the authorizer for this template, internal requisition. So let me just share with you. That will be the approval template. Let me just go back to internal requisition. This is it. Just remove this one. Okay. So basically, I have this approval template. And Luana, most of you already know Luana. She's one of our technical people, I would say. For documents, it is the purchase request, that is the internal requisition. The stages, that would be the same thing, internal requisition. If I open this one, it is in here that I have the actual authorizer. So basically, and when that's applied, this is for these terms. So anytime that the total document is greater than $250, then this purchase request should be submitted for approval, right? When the Luana is the originator. So basically in here, Richard Calvo, that most of you also know, he's the authorizer, but let's say that Richard is on vacation. So, and actually he's off this week. So now what we can do is just assign a substitute. In this case, that was me. So Richard is the authorizer. That is the authorizer code. Okay, Richard is the user code is manager. That is the name, and I assign myself as the substitute for Richard, and I define what is the date from this date up until November 26th, let's say. This is the template. If I have more than one, I can just select, or it could be for every template that I have in there. If it's active, the date that it was created, the time, who actually did it, and actually it was me. And in this case, substitute action performed. And it says yes, because I already approved a document on behalf of Richard. Okay, I already did it. So if I go to the actual approval procedure, let's say to the status report. Let me just remove this one, originator. Okay, that would be, I wanted to leave for Juana, and to same thing for Juana. And show me whatever is pending, generate approve or not, anything, just show me anything. And that would be for the purchasing, that will be purchase request, right? The purchase request. Show me whatever is done. So basically this is, and let me just expand just to show you. So basically these are the documents. 3 different documents. All of them were already approved. Okay, this is the draft key. So basically that's what we have in there. Let's check if we have any production date. You could have here all of these fields, like what is the customer or vendor code, the name, what is the due date, if you have some remarks or not. So you have all of these documents, fields available. Let me just go also to the actual approval process, the approval decision report, when the originator is Juana. So in the approval decision report, then I will have it. This is the history actually. So let me just go and increase the column width. So now we have this column for the substitute authorizer. So I did this too on behalf of Richard, okay? So let me just check if I have anything else in here, any other column that you could just use. This is the originator, this is the status. What is the template? We already have it in there, it's a stage. Who is the authorizer? Let me just close this one. So the original authorizer, that is Richard, but actually I did it for these 2 documents, the 9 and the 10. It was done by me. So there will be traceability about who did and when. And at any time, you can just go and remove the substitute or just inactivate it. So let's go back to the approval process. Here, substitute, right? I could just inactivate this one, and that's it. And the other option that I have is that hide the rows if the due date is earlier than system date. So if, let's say that this is already in the past, so there's no reason for me to have this in here. So if I have this November 9, let's say, and I would just like to remove it because it doesn't make sense just to have it now. If I can check, there it is. Let me just update it to November 15, just in case. Okay. So basically, that's how the substitute authorizer works. The approval process doesn't change anything. I mean, I will just get alerted that there's a new document for approval. And when I will get the alert also that that document was already approved, okay? There is a new thing also regarding the approval process, and that is that the authorizer actually can add the document. In the past, we couldn't do it. The only one with the option to add a document that was already approved That was the originator. Nowadays, the authorizers, they can update a document that is pending for approval, and they can actually add the document. So instead of having this back and forth, some companies, I mean, with few users, if a document is submitted for approval, the authorizer could just review the document and say, okay, yes, I just want to change this date, maybe, and then update, and then I will approve it, and then I can add it. Okay, so Luana doesn't need, I don't need to Luana just to add the document. So I can do it now if I'm the authorizer. Okay, so there are some settings that I would like you to check under the general settings for the approvals. So for all of those that are working with a lot of approval procedures, or even if you have only one, then you have this. Enable updating the document, generate updated by the approval process, enable the originator to update the document draft in pending on approval status, enable the authorizer to update the document in pending status. So we have all of those options now. So why not, right? So just let's go down and just check those options.